Before starting the video, let me just warn you that if you are not a Taekooker, or if you are actually a shipper for Jungkook and Jimin, this might not be exactly your cup of tea, because I'm going to explain things from a Taekooker point of view, even though I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. So if you know that you won't enjoy it, feel free to close the tab. Another thing you need to know is that this video is an analysis video and only brings up theories and opinions, not facts. So don't let it hurt your feelings that much. Another disclaimer is that it's totally okay if you ship another ship, and I personally do like other ships as well, but I only ship Taekook in a serious way, and this is Taekook Lives channel, so I am trying to focus mostly on Taekook's side of story. But to explain that, I have to mention Jungkook and Jimin's trip as well. Remember, all BTS members love each other, especially the Magna line, but since the subject keeps bringing itself up over and over, I thought this video was really bound to be made. Frankly, I usually try not to even mention other ships in my video, and so far I delayed making this video for this very reason. But day by day, more and more people ask me about it, so I decided to make a harmless video explaining some of the things that most people might not be aware about the situation, and explaining my own point of view for those of you who asked about it. On 2017, Jimin and Jungkook went on a trip to Japan together, alone, and following that, Jungkook's first Golden Closet film came out, which featured only Jimin and himself. That's why a lot of people started questioning a lot of things. Personally, I never understood why people were so pressed or mad about it. Personally, I loved it. Seeing BTS members having fun together always cheers me up. And Jungkook did great in the video. I was proud of him. I thought it was cool that Jungkook was also interacting with someone else, and loved the GCF, but at the same time, I couldn't understand why people kept saying that it goes against Taekook. To me, it seemed very natural, and I personally found more than what people were looking for about the whole situation, so I could see it from a different perspective, I guess. I thought people were just making it bigger than what it really was, because it was great, it was sweet, I loved it, but it was just a trip. Some people say it's because Taekook never had any trips like this together, but the thing is, it's really more complicated than that. It's not that they never did it. It's more like they never told us about it. Even the whole thing about GCF started way before the video even came out. I know you might be confused. Let me explain it. Let's go back to January 2016. That was when Taeyoung won a ticket to a 4-night, 3-day cruise and got to stay in Okinawa Miyako Hotel. But here comes the tricky part. At first, we had no idea who was the second person who went to that trip with Taeyoung. But later on Jungkook's birthday, we got this picture of Jungkook being half naked on a balcony. Taehyung posted it on that day, and if you pay attention, you'll see that the balcony actually belongs to the same hotel Taehyung had to go with someone else because of what he won. So here comes the thing. We can see the clues that let us think that Taehyung and Jungkook had this trip together. But then why didn't they ever mention this before? It's not even the only time. Things like this happens all the time with them. But every time Tae and Gook never really mention it. Unlike what happened last year with the Japan trip. If something is between them, which would be more dangerous? Hiding it, or letting the whole world know about it? I'll let you decide on that yourself. Now let's fast forward to April 2017, which had an even bigger drama. You see, Taehyung and Jungkook promised each other to go to Jeju Island together. They planned to do it last April on 2017, but Jungkook said on July that he couldn't make it for some personal reasons. We don't know which reasons, but they were apparently very personal. But the trip still happened. Guess who Taehyung went with when Jungkook couldn't? You guessed it, it's Park Bo-gum, Taehyung's best friend outside of BTS. Taehyung is actually very close to him, and he talked about him a lot, about how close they are and how much he really admires him. But the thing about Jungkook is that, in general, he's a little bit jealous and possessive when it comes to Taehyung being around other people that are not BTS members, you know? We've seen it over and over and over throughout last year and the year before that. And the most obvious one was when Jungkook asked Taehyung to choose between him and Boogum of our people. Actually, the whole jealousy thing with Jungkook and Boogum only started during the same time they went to a trip together. And it all passed because right now they seem to all be good friends and they're like hanging out with each other and everything. But when Tae and Boogum went to that trip, they posted a lot of pictures. And there was also this interesting video of how their trip went on. Boogum himself edited it and posted it on social media. I guess it gave a certain bunny some new ideas over trying to learn how to edit videos and maybe doing another one himself. It's also interesting to note that at the end of the trip, some fans claimed that they spotted Jungkook and Tae together in Jeju Island, but we have no pictures, so take it with a pinch of salt. Now let's move on to a few months later. What we got at first was that Jimin and Jungkook went to Japan together, like how Taehyung and Boogum did a few months before. And right when they came back, this was how Jungkook and Taehyung kept looking at each other. It's exactly a day after Jungkook came back. At first glance, it seemed like everything was normal. But if you pay attention, you'll see that a lot of things seem really strange. For example, how Taehyung keeps looking away as soon as Jungkook even looks at him, and how Jungkook reacts like he's not doing it at all. And how he keeps trying to just stare at him and looking at him, but every time Taehyung looks away, Jungkook just looks away, looking a little bit annoyed. And there is just a lot of tension going on in here. If you pay attention to it, it's hard to miss the tension. It's really there. But am I saying that Taehyung was mad over jealousy of Jungkook being on a trip with Jimin? Not at all. I'm not saying this at all. Taehyung isn't really the jealous type. And I also have another reason for this. Jimin and Hoseok also went to another trip to Japan together alone. And when they did it, they did some interviews as well. And that's when Jimin revealed something really interesting. The Japan trip was not just a trip between Jimin and Jungkook. It was not planned that way. It was actually a trip for Magna Line. I think the whole tension and drama started when Taehyung was canceling the whole thing. My guess is that something happened and Taehyung couldn't go anymore, and Jungkook ends up doing it anyway. Why do I think that? Because only 2 months later they mentioned it on an interview. Taehyung said, "Sometimes when members go on a trip alone, I miss them." You might say it has nothing to do with the Japan trip, right? Just because of the timeline, it doesn't mean it has to do something with that. But Jimin said something interesting right after that points out to it as well. He says, "Well, you didn't answer your phone at all anyway." Which says when Jimin and Jungkook were away, Taehyung wasn't even picking up their calls. Namjoon's reaction and how quickly he tried to change the subject also is another sign that this was not something that was meant to be said on public.
Do you ever get tired of each other? You guys ever just need a break?
서로 좀 며칠 떨어져 있으면 다시 보고 싶은 사람들.
He said when we we had sometimes we have vacation and don't see each other for like a week. And he said he already miss each other, so
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
thank you for touching me.
며칠 떨어져 있으면 연락 안 하던데.
I'm proud of you.
He said anyone didn't call him when we have vacations, so kind of like that. Okay, so okay, absolute last question. Kind of like that. Okay, so okay, absolute last question.
But actually, I don't think Tae was mad at Jimin at all, because not even once he showed it. But on this night, he also just seemed so distracted and a bit annoyed with Jungkook and Jungkook alone. So what happened probably was something that started with Tae and Gook themselves. So as you can see, dramas had been going on from before until after the trip between Taekook. That is exactly when Jungkook started posting his trip videos with a way better editing skills than what Bugum did when he went on that trip with Taeyoung. I have to admit though, that was pretty impressive. Even Jungkook himself said it here, when Jimin jokingly said that he was the main model of Jungkook's GCFs. Jungkook clarified it and said that no, it wasn't the real reason. The real reason was because you were the only one there when I was making the video, so I couldn't use anyone else, implying that there was supposed to be someone else too, but wasn't.
GCF 감독님은 제지만 모델은 저여서 GCF 모델은 계속 바뀐다고 그러는데 GCF 형 메인 모델은 아니에요. 조용히 하세요. 상황을 어쩔 수가 없었어. 저희는
So technically the first GCF was supposed to be made when all three of them were on a trip. It didn't happen. Instead some dramas happened, so Jungkook made it up for it in his next GCF by putting them both in another GCF. And to be fair, it was really freaking cute. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is that things are not always as it seems. This theory is just one possibility out of millions. A lot of things could be happening behind the closed doors, and we really can't judge based on what we see, because a lot more is happening and we just don't know. Whatever happened, it was a year ago. And from what I can see, it was actually very normal no matter how you look at it. It's very natural, very normal, even the whole drama was normal. And they almost passed it by now. Everything keeps coming back to this too, so if anything, it actually gives me more Taekook vibes. But then again, these are all just my personal theories over my personal observations that might be wrong, but also can be true. You all can have your own view over the whole thing as well. This was just mine. Last but not least, let's not forget that BTS members are a family. Romantically or not, maybe some of them are involved, maybe some of them are not. We're all just bringing up different kinds of theories. And to me, it seems like Taekook have something going on. And even this didn't really bring me out of the whole thing. It actually proved it further. But you are different people and none of us can really say what is truth and what is not. What matters is knowing that Jimin, Jungkook, Taehyung, Jin, Hoseok, Namjoon, and Yoongi all love each other very, very much. And it really doesn't matter what happened as long as we keep protecting them and supporting them all. And we remember to just keep the theories at basics and not to call them facts. So yeah, you heard my theory. But to me, the ships don't really matter. All that matters to me is just their happiness.